All right, so today is August 5th, 2025, and usually I do these videos after the market closes, so this is kind of a weird time for me, but I decided to just go ahead and record because I already missed so many days because I was busy doing other things and like so many I guess small events that have happened that I should have went over, but I guess I'll do that right now. But as of right now, I am down 0.75% for the week. I was slightly in the green, but now I guess I'm back in the red. Oh well. And my Roth IRA is actually green. And the past week, basically flat, but down about 1%. And the NASDAQ is down 0.42% today. And if we take a look at some of my recent transactions coming off of July and into August, I only have one, and that is my Lemonade sell on today's earnings pop. And if we take a look at Lemonade stock right now, it is up 28% on earnings at about 47.5 a share. Now, going into earnings, it was actually down from where I bought it, at least. I was averaging around $40 a share. And then before earnings, it tanked all the way down to like 36 a share. And then, of course, on earnings, it popped all the way to 47. And if we take a look at the stock price year to date, I mean, all of its gains is basically coming off of today. And I know I said my price target is going to be at $80 a share, but reason why I decided to just go ahead and sell on today's earnings pop was to just cash out my $5,000 a margin that I had in it. Basically, this position that I have right now is quote unquote free. I mean, obviously I haven't paid my taxes on it, but basically I got 20 shares of Lemonade for free on the earnings pop. And I do plan on holding Lemonade for the long term. So this won't be like my only trade on it. Potentially going to buy more on it in the future. And for all of you that are like long-term investors that don't use margin or whatever, I know you're probably thinking, well, if your price target is $80 a share and you plan to hold it for the long term, why are you selling it on today's earnings pop? Well, like I said, I have margin, right? I have leverage. I use that leverage to make quick gains in a stock, and now I have roughly $1,000 worth of equity in Lemonade that I didn't have to deposit for. I didn't, take $1,000 out of my checking account, put it into Robinhood, and then just buy it straight up. I didn't work for that $1,000 other than, just putting my money at risk, my margin at risk. So that's why I'm trading in and out versus just constantly depositing like $500 at a time and just doing like dollar cost averaging. This is just the way that I like to do things personally. But speaking of earnings, we actually have Palantir going crazy. And I honestly don't really care about Palantir anymore. And that's just kind of how I am. Whenever a stock is dead, or the stock price, let me clarify, the stock price is dead and no one seems to really be talking about it. I remember Palantir was probably like $5 a share at one point. It was basically gone and forgotten. Those are the times I kind of get excited for, like back when Robinhood was $8 a share. Those to me are like the exciting times. And now that Robinhood is at $105 a share, Palantir is 172, pushing 180. What did it get to today? 175. I mean, it is what it is. I have my two covered calls that are underwater now, but they're at ridiculously high prices. One of them is $100 a share, so it's kind of laughable now, but my other one is at a 160 strike, and I could always just roll them out if I want to in the future. Obviously not right now because I don't want to ruin my tax loss harvesting situation, my loss wash. Try saying that 20 times. But yeah, I mean, if any of you guys bought Palantir recently and made a quick 7%, congrats. But I'm kind of bored with Palantir and I'm kind of just on to the next one, I guess. Now, looking back at yesterday, there was actually some interesting earnings movement going on here. So about August 4th, Mercado Libre, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's like a popular retail stock, but it was trading at about 2,400, and then I'm assuming on earnings it tanked and then it just regained all of its losses immediately. And it's kind of a similar situation with HIMS. So it was about like 63, 64, tanks all the way to 53, and then it kind of tried to come back. So as I've said before in a previous video, it kind of seems like this earnings season, the market wants to screw both sides. So either people think it's going to be an amazing earnings, and it does end up being an amazing earnings. So they think the stock is going to go up, but it actually goes down, or the stock basically does nothing, kind of like what we saw with Robinhood. Or in the case of Palantir, everybody just expects Palantir to go down now because of how expensive it is, and it just ends up keep going up. So, let this be a lesson that the market, in the end, always wants to screw everybody. So just because you think a stock's going to do good, or a company, whatever, a product, doesn't always mean it will, because like I said, the market always wants to screw both sides. But speaking of Palantir and stocks that just don't make sense, Axon, like what even is Axon anymore? Like this stock is up over 200% this year, and then on earnings, it's up another 15. I mean, it was up over 15, basically 20%. And I know they have, they sell like very important products, obviously, close relationship with the government and agencies. But I guess this is somewhat of a Palantir situation where a government contractor is raising guidance, whatever, investing in AI. They according to Robinhood, have a P ratio of 184. I'm sure Palantir's is much more excessive. But anyways, later on today, after the bell closes, AMD reports. So that's a pretty important stock for the market. And honestly, I don't really have a take on AMD. I know people think they're going to be like the next NVIDIA, and their tech is pretty impressive, whatever. But honestly, looking at the stock, it's up 43%, 44 year to date. And I know it could still end up going up even more, pushing 200, 250. But to me, I've always made money trading AMD. I don't know what it is about my relationship with AMD, but in the past, if you look at my transaction history or some of my older videos, I've sold options on AMD. I placed trades on AMD, and I've always just basically had a 100% hit rate. So maybe if I buy AMD today, we all just make money. Just kidding, it doesn't work like that. But seriously, like I seem to have like a 100% win rate trading AMD stock, but it is what it is. I'm not really too excited to buy AMD, especially when I have so much margin already and so many other stocks that I've already bought. So I don't think AMD is the worst stock in the world. It's just I'm not really touching it right now. But going back to the topic of stocks that don't really make sense, American Eagle actually made the news again recently, twice. So yesterday, I believe, I was a little bit too busy, so I couldn't really keep up with all the news that was going on. But AMD was up over 17% yesterday because of Trump, apparently. I mean, maybe Robinhood will... Yeah, it seems like Robinhood is keeping up with the news too. So shares of American Eagle surge after Trump calls Sydney Sweeney campaign hottest ad out there. Whatever. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything to me. American Eagle rally fizzles as analysts question if sales will follow the Sydney Sweeney social media buzz. All right, so number one, I don't really care about what the news says, whatever, or what Trump says. But if any of you guys have seen my old video talking about retail stocks and how I think there's going to be a short squeeze, I do think we're starting to see that. We already saw that with Kohl's, where there was like a brief spike there. And now we're starting to see a little bit of that with Trump and American Eagle. People are shorting American Eagle. There's media controversy. People hate the Sydney Sweeney ad, whatever the hell it is. I don't really care about, I don't really know who Sydney Sweeney is, to be honest with you guys. But for some reason, the media overly cares about this. And I think that is good for the stock. And when it comes to the Seeking Alpha article of whether or not this whole media controversy and the Sydney Sweeney ad, whatever, is that going to affect sales? I mean, the answer is obviously yes. Now, is it going to affect it positively or negatively? I don't know. Well, anytime you have social media controversy, it does affect sales one way or another. But I tend to be more along the lines of all controversy is good controversy. Well, actually, not controversy. All media attention is good attention. Similar to the whole Trump campaign and Trump's presidency, right? It doesn't really matter if people talk smack about Trump, don't like him, or do like him, whatever. As long as you're constantly talking about him, his name is living in your head rent free. And as long as media companies, social media, whatever, they keep pushing American Eagle on all these headlines, people keep watching the ad, they keep retweeting the ad, reposting, they make all these TikToks, whatever, Instagram. I don't care about any of this stuff. I don't care about social media, Sydney Sweeney, whatever the hell American Eagle wants to do with their ads. I don't care about any of this stuff. I just care about the stock. And I think this will be good. So a part of me kind of wishes I had taken a little bit more profits during all of these very brief spikes. And I assume these brief spikes are coming from the market volatility and all the short sellers panicking just on these like one-off events or these news headlines. Similar to VFC. VFC spiked, I want to say, leading into earnings and then on earnings initially, and then it tanked all the way back down. Similar to how American Eagle is today, or yesterday it spiked, and then today it comes back down. And also a similar situation with Nike a little bit, where it spiked on earnings and now it's coming back down, cooling off. I think we saw that with Levi's as well. Kohl's, it had that initial short squeeze spike and then it came right back down. So I'm just noticing this pattern in a lot of retail stocks where it seems like sellers are panicking a little bit. But I do think at least the next 6 months, retail possibly could do very well.